Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to our YouTube channel and welcome to this video. This is part 3 of our video tutorial series on how we can create a point of sale system using JavaFX and MySQL. Now, from the previous tutorial, we already have created our own point of sale project, and then we have added the login.fxml file and also the login.java, and of course the login controller. So if we try to preview this, let's just run file, and we should be getting this particular output where we see text field where we can type in the username and password, and then we can click on this login button. So if you missed the previous 2 videos, you can try to watch that before proceeding with this particular tutorial. Now, in this video, we're going to add the MySQL connection, and of course, we're going to add the MySQL connector to our project, and also try to work with our login form in order for us to log into our point of sale system. And of course, in this video, we're going to create the database for this particular project. So let's start, and the first thing that we're going to do is go to our phpMyAdmin and create a new database. So we'll just name our project as POS and then JavaFX. So let's just copy this and then create. And inside here, we're gonna create a table users, and it should have 4 columns. So the first one will be ID, and this is auto increment and primary. Second will be full name. Length is 100, and then we have username here. And password, so 50, and then save. Okay, after that we could insert a user. For example, let's just name our user as John Doe, and the username will be admin and password is admin. So we're gonna use this particular user to log into our point of sale system, and then later on we will be adding more tables to this. So for example, the category, the products for our point of sale, but for now users table will be enough for our video. So let's go back to NetBeans, and then here we will create the JavaFX JDBC database object. So we're going to create that class. So right click and then new and then Java class. I'm just gonna name this as JDBC and then database object. Okay, click on finish, and in here I will add like 4 attributes or fields. So that will be public or private static final string, and I'll be adding the database URL. We need to set the value, so open and close double quotes. So this will be database underscore URL and then JDBC colon and then MySQL colon and then / localhost and then 3306 is the port number, and then / and then of course the name of our database, which is POS JavaFX. And then after that, I'm just gonna add use SSL equals false. Okay, and it should be static. Okay, and of course I will just add another one for our database username, so that will be string and then database username equals, and then of course the default username for for my machine is root. Okay, and I'll just copy and paste this. So this will be for our password, and of course empty password. This will be for selecting or select query. So select query, and this will be for the username and password. So we're just checking if the user with this particular username and with this particular password exists in our database. So that will be select all from users where username equals question mark and then password equals question mark. Okay, there you go. We have this variables right here, and then what we could do here is add a method that will validate our username and password. So that will be public boolean. We need it to be public because we want to access this later on inside our login controller. So whenever we click on the login button, it should call this validate method to validate the username and password. So it should be string username and then string password, and then open and close curly braces. Now we have different steps right here inside the validate. So the first step is to establish a connection. So in order for us to do that, we need to add a try and catch code block. So try and catch, and then this should be SQL connection, SQL exception. Okay, and then SQL exception. Yeah. So what we could do is to add a connection object right here, connection, and then the name will be connection equals driver manager dot get connection. Of course, we're going to use our database URL, database username, and database password. Okay, and we need to import this. So import we need to import the connection class. That will be import java.sql.connection. Okay, so driver manager. Before we proceed, let's add the connector for our project point of sale. So that will be right click the libraries and then add jar or folder, and then I have here MySQL connector for Java, and then the version is 8.0.19. so I'll just click on that and click on open, and we should be able to connect to our MySQL database. So driver manager, what we could do is import right here. It will be driver manager. Okay, and then of course the SQL exception. SQL exception. Okay. So after that, we can try to add step 2 right here. Step 2 will be to create a statement using connection object. So that will be prepare statement. We're going to be using prepared statement for this. Prepare statement, and I'm just going to name it as prepared, and then statement equals connection dot prepare statement, and then of course our select query. Okay, and what we could do, so and then we need to import this prepared statement. So that will be import java.sql that prepare statement. Prepared. There you go. And after that, we need to set the variable, or the value for our username and password using the parameters that are being passed here inside our method. So that will be prepared statement dot set string, and the first value is the username, and then of course the second value is password. Okay, now after this we can try to output the prepared statement for now. So prepared statement, this is what we this is what we're trying to query into our database. And then of course we will have the result set. So we're gonna be using the result set just like this, and equals to prepared statement dot execute query. Okay, open and close parentheses, and then of course we need to import this class java import, and then sql dot result set. Okay, and here if result set dot next, which means that we found the username and password combination. Okay, so otherwise we can try to return false here before the end of this particular method. So by default we're returning false, because if this will not evaluate to true, then this particular statement will not be executed, so it will return false by default. So in here we can try to print the SQL statement or SQL exception. Print SQL exception, so that will be print SQL exception, and then we're going to be using the variable a, and of course this is not a this particular method does not exist, so we need to create this. So that will be public static void, and then print SQL exception, just like that, and then SQL exception as the parameter. Okay, and of course in here we're gonna use the for loop. So variable e, and then we're gonna be using the ex variable, and inside here if e or ex instance of SQL exception, then what we could do is print the stack trace and then we're going to add a parameter, the system.err method, and then of course we can try to display more information. This is for debugging purposes. If something happens or something bad happens to this particular method, so we're going to have like a debugging logs in order for us to identify better the problems with this particular method. So it will be plus, and then here we can get the SQL exception, and of course that will be E, and then get SQL state. So in here we can try the error code, and that will be instead of get SQL state, then we can use get error code right here. And yeah, here we can try to get the message instead of the SQL state. So ex dot SQL yeah, get message. Here we go, and we can try to create an object of throwable here. T equals ex.get cost. So again guys, this is for debugging purposes only. So cost will be plus, and then the object T, and then T equals T dot get cost. Okay, so that's how should the print SQL exception should look right here as a method. So we're going to save this. Okay, and then of course we can use this inside our login controller right here. Okay, so let's just open this. But before that, let's try to add a new XML file for our dashboard. So every time we click on the login button, if the username and password is correct, then we should be able to redirect to the dashboard of our application point of sale. Otherwise, we will display information such as you have like you don't have access, or maybe the username and password combination doesn't exist in our database. So if it is correct, or if the username and password combination is existing in our database, so we should be able to redirect to the dashboard. So what we could do is add a new dashboard XML file. So this will be dashboard, and then click on next, and we're going to be using a Java controller, and let's just leave the default controller name and then finish. Okay, so for our dashboard controller, dashboard at fxml, let's just open this, and we'll just add label to this. For example, label. Okay, so for now, let's just say this will be welcome to dashboard, and then another label. So we want our username to be displayed here inside this particular label. So for now, let's just make it asterisk, and then let us set the ID for this. So this will be LBL username, and we're gonna be using this fxid to set the text or the value. So save, and then let's go back to our NetBeans and update our controller by just right clicking the dashboard of XML file and then make controller. So it should add the label right here, as we can see. But inside this dashboard controller, we're going to be adding a new method. This will be responsible for setting the value of our label username. So that will be public void and then set username, open and close curly braces. So again, the purpose of this is, for example, the user lands on the dashboard and he successfully logged into our system. He should be able to see his username, or for example, welcome to dashboard, admin or something. So that will be public void set username, and this will be string username. We're going to be passing the username to this particular method, and of course we're going to set the value of our, or I mean the text of our label. So label username that text, set text, and then of course the username. There we go. And inside our login controller, we're going to be using again the database object that we have created, the JDBC database object class. We're going to be using that in this particular login controller class. So what we could do is, let's just open up the login fxml file and try to add ID for our username and password. So this will be txt username, and then this will be txt password. Okay, and then for our login button, we can add a action. So this will be action login, and then we're just going to save this, save, and go back to our NetBeans IDE and just update the controller. So the controller should have the text field and of course the password field, and of course it will add the login or action login method. So in here we're going to be adding the method for our information box. So this will be for displaying the for example, if the user has successfully logged into our system, or maybe the user typed the correct or incorrect username or password, so we're going to give a warning to that. So public static void and then info box, open and close parentheses and open and close curly braces. This is void, and inside here we're gonna be passing the information message and the header text, and of course the title of our alert dialog. So string title, and inside here we're going to use the alert class equals new alert, and then open and close curly parentheses, and then alert type. There you go, alert type, and then confirmation, and we need to import this, and of course the alert type. There you go. Now alert dot set content text, and then the content text is of course the info message. There you go. And then we're going to set title, set the header text. There you go. And then alert that show and wait. So it's going to wait for the user to like close or click on the OK button inside this particular alert. So for the alert one, we're going to just copy and paste this, and instead of info box, we could rename this into show alert. Okay, and then the alert type, we're going to specify it here, alert type that will be alert type. Okay, and then we could say here it will be the alert type. So the header text is null, and then we could change this into message. Let's try to arrange this. We're going to add another one parameter, which is window, and then the owner of this particular alert, and title. There you go. So this will be message, header text is null, the title is title, of course, the content is message, and then the owner, alert that unit owner is that unit owner. So it should be the owner. Okay, and then import this window, and there you go. And instead of show and wait, we'll just say show here. Okay, now for our action login, this is where all the validation will happen. So first off, we'll try to get the window owner of a particular field. Say for example, we're gonna be using the username, so that will be window and then owner equals txt username dot get scene and then get window. So we're gonna be using this for our show alert later on, because as you can see here, we have specified the parameter owner. So we will be using this particular object of window. So what we could do here is try to output or display the username, get text, and we could do the same for the password. So txt password and then get text. Okay, so here we will try to check if the username is empty. So get text is empty. If it is true, then we're gonna be displaying the alert. So show alert, and then the type is alert type dot error type. Okay, and then the next parameter is of course the owner. This is the purpose of this particular window object right here. And then we're going to set the we can remove this. Okay, we could set the message. Okay, so that's the third parameter. So that will be please enter a valid username. There you go. Show alert